the world lost a mini masterpiece of the time. And I just think that was down to everybody in a way who was involved in that film, who gave their heart and soul to it. It was a wonderful experience to work on it. And when we saw our final results, it was something to be very proud of. I just think it's a very sad thing that films are... This happens to many other films, not just Legend. And Legend has now become a legend, so to speak. But I mean, it was the same with Blade Runner before, that was never shown to the public as it was originally intended to be shown. Legend wasn't, and there's been many other things that you can think of. And I just think it's sad that they never saw this film as it was truly intended.
If I knew about movies what I know today, I probably would have convinced Ridley to fight for his original cut, which I felt was more true to his vision. Although I actually like the American cut as well. It's one of those odd cases that I think actually both work. I just don't know that we've gained anything by cutting the movie or changing the music.
It's a beautiful movie to look at, and Jerry Goldsmith is about the best film composer there is. So to take a beautiful Jerry Goldsmith score and jettison it, and then cut the movie virtually in half, doesn't sound like a good idea to me, you know. But I'm sure wiser heads prevailed. But anyway, I think that I'm sure this version of the film will convince people that Legend is really a classic.
I was shocked because I read in a couple of publications how it was the best score he'd ever done, that it was really the pinnacle of his work. And I've really been a fan of his for some time, and so I was very amazed that he got replaced. Now, I don't dislike the Tangerine Dream score. You know, it's what it is, and I like it. I like the idea of doing a classical score, though, to go along with a classical story myself. I don't like the idea of doing the test shoots and finding out what the audience wants and changing the ending and changing things to be more marketable. I like the idea of film standing on its own, the artist's viewpoint, and letting the audiences find it.
I think for myself, because it was the first film that I had done, and also because I was so young, it was really kind of devastating, to be honest with you. It's not that I think that the version, either of them, because I've seen both the European and American released versions, were bad, but the fact that they weren't what was intended, and then the fact that they were so badly received at that time was so completely devastating to me. It really broke my heart.
I think the public could have handled the original movie that Ridley had in mind. I think that what always makes something interesting is the exception, and people are given so much sameness or things based on previous success that, you know, Ridley is nothing if he's not a visionary in the way that he creates film. So in other forces trying to put this movie into some other context, I think they compromised what might have been.
When we previewed, either it was just we got cold feet, a combination of the film, the story, and the score. I got a couple of sniggerers in the audience, and I could smell pot. Right? Now, if that happened to me again, I would actually switch the lights up and say, you get out, otherwise there's no screening, right? Because I think they can disintegrate a screening. And we screened in the DGA, I think it was. And somebody had obviously come in and thinking, because I've done some pretty weird movies, so they come in and loaded up with that. And they started to, there was pot and a bit of some comments happening. And I sat through it really angry. And I think it didn't help us, right? But anyway, it didn't help me because I got totally paranoid and started to say, right, the film's too long, and started to hack away at the movie. And the gentleman at Universal literally tried to physically stop me, as opposed to him saying, well, we got to cut the movie. It was me saying, we got to cut the movie. And he was saying, whoa, 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 you know. And so I cut the movie down to 2 hours. And figured that maybe we'd been too adventurous with our expectations of a full-blown fairy story, and therefore maybe the score, combination of the score and the visual, was actually too sweet. So with only 3 weeks to redo a score, I went to Berlin and did the score with Tangerine Dream. You know, in 3 weeks they did, you know, incredibly good job, but it was more completely different. It was a driving, more modern way to go, and given what they did in the time, I thought they did a fantastic job. On reflection, it was the wrong thing to do, and the first score was what it should be, which is what we've got on this disc.
What is light without dark? What are you without me? I am a part of you all. You can never defeat me.
Working with Ridley was always an adventure because Ridley, first of all, Ridley is trained as an artist. So he would often start trying to figure out a scene by doing these little doodles that he would call Ridleygrams. And he would like doodle out, and we would talk through a scene, and Ridley would sketch down. They were beautiful little throwaways. I've even saved some. And they were beautiful little sketches. Well, anyway, it was always this challenge because he was always like, pushing the script in different directions. And well, at one point, he calls me into his office, and he'd been reading the script over. And so we were calling Jack Green Jack because he was a green man. There are green man pubs all over England, and they refer to these guys that wore leaves and lived in the forest. So at this point, Ridley, his imagination is like going high gear, and he says to me, well, Gats, he says, what would you think if we made him green? So I said, you mean like with a green skin? And he goes, yes, a green skin. Now, like, my mind is like reeling. Like the implications of this are enormous to me, because it's like the thing, you change one element in the script, and so I said, you mean like a chameleon? He said, yes, exactly, a chameleon. And I said, you mean sort of lizard boy Jack? Said, that's it, lizard boy Jack. And so I said, well, that's very interesting, but how are we going to explain to the audience why this delicate princess is in love with the lizard boy? And Ridley goes, right, fuck me, drop it, forget it, bit rangy there, bit dodgy, forget it. And that was it. And I left the office thinking, man, this guy is so freewheeling in the course of filmmaking that he will go, full bore in any direction just to see where it'll take him, which I thought was immensely exciting.
Working with Ridley is an exciting experience because he has this, it's like giving you works of art to play with. The material that he shoots is always magnificent.
With the blowpipe, that, okay? Then when I saw you advance, I could see you throw it away and change to the sword, okay?
As a 15-year-old, I had the biggest crush of my life on Ridley Scott. I just thought he was the bee's knees, which I'm sure he still is. But so I just, I think it was very fortunate because probably if I hadn't thought he was, just the end, I think I probably would have been pissed off a lot because he's like, maybe any really good director. He's just completely single-minded, and nothing that anyone else says was going to be okay if he hadn't thought it out and made the choice himself. So there were many, many times when there would be 14-hour setup, lighting for 14 hours, and there was more than once, and I promise you this, 14 hours to set it up. Ridley would walk on the set, and he'd say, right, turn that off, turn that off, turn that off, turn that off. Okay. And I thought the lighting cameraman was going to just really a couple times, you sort of didn't even want to look. But he's, I think he's a real visual genius, absolutely. And I think, that shows, and really, in the end, you don't mind because it's so beautiful.